Hello, 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 and welcome to the Difference Makers. This is your host, Jacqueline Grant. We are here for a very special edition of the Difference Makers, where we are celebrating Juneteenth. Now, what is Juneteenth? We have a very special guest that will tell you all about the history of Juneteenth, but also what is yet to come. So let me do a proper introduction of our guest for today. You may have recognized her from the promos. You may have been on the show where she was a guest on the Difference Makers previously on the last day of Women's History Month, because she is one who is making history. Gasby Brown. She has an unparalleled passion for the nonprofit industry. Her work and impact are testaments to her strong belief in the need for good philanthropic practices. As a veteran subject matter expert in the nonprofit sector, Gasby is a sought-after consultant, keynote speaker, and facilitator, and so much more. She's known as the nonprofit myth buster, and we're going to hear more about that. And her presentations have captivated audiences nationwide. So let me bring to the virtual platform of the Difference Makers special edition, Ms. Gasby Brown. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it's so great to be with you, Jacqueline. Our last conversation, I'm still thinking about how rich it was with those other three women that you had on the panel, and it was just really, really great. And then you're a great interviewer and thinker. I just enjoyed having a conversation with you. So thank you again.
Thank you. It's great to have you be here again with us. I don't know about you, but we might be getting a little feedback. Are you hearing some feedback?
I do not. You're hearing something?
No, it's okay. We know how technology can be sometimes, so we will work it out. So
okay.
Why we are here today is because we are talking about Juneteenth. This is a live show. We're here live on LinkedIn. We're here live on Facebook, live on YouTube. But we are here basically 30 days out from Juneteenth, the celebration of Juneteenth, and you have a very special project related not only to Juneteenth, but to people everywhere and celebrating people. So I want you to first give us a little bit of a backstory of your philanthropic journey, how you've come to where you are today, and then we'll move forward to talk about the special surprise that we have to share with everybody.
When I think about my philanthropic journey, it starts when I was a young child and in church and making sure that we were giving and without any kind of trepidation about giving, because it was the generous thing to do and the right thing to do. And from there, just began a journey of knowing more about the philanthropic space through my association with the Lilly Family School of Philanthropy at Indiana University and the fundraising school, and understanding both the science and the art of fundraising and what philanthropy really is, which is a love of humankind. And so with that love of humankind, that then translates into a number of avenues that we can walk down, including this avenue of Juneteenth.
Yes. So give us a little backstory on now the history of Juneteenth. What is that all about?
Well, in 1865, Major General Gordon Granger announced to African-American enslaved people that they were free. He was a Major General of the Union Army, and this was after 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation had taken place in 1863, but this announcement took place in Texas after the war was handily won, the Civil War. And so it was this moment of delayed emancipation and freedom. And remember that African Americans had not enslaved themselves, that this was sort of a really, really pivotal moment for this country to want to do better and be better. And also at the same time, it was a testament to the barbaric nature of enslavement in the first place.
Yes. So that is a bit of the history Where are we today?
Well, today in 2021, there will be an unprecedented celebration and commemoration of Juneteenth by corporations, nonprofits. Everyone throughout the country will at least be aware of Juneteenth if they are aware at all. I think the kind of momentum that's going to be built around Juneteenth will be something that cannot be overlooked or ignored. And by the way, Juneteenth's name comes from the fact that it took place on June 19th of 1865. And so this just combining creatively the date and the month, it became Juneteenth. So in 2021, also with this remarkable way that it will be celebrated, it is also in line with Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee of Texas, who has introduced Bill 7232 with regard to making Juneteenth a national holiday. It would be called Juneteenth Independence Day. And that is still in the pipeline to be approved. And just think about how Juneteenth will be stacked up with Veterans Day, Memorial Day, Martin Luther King Day, President's Day, all of the national holidays that we are celebrating. It will be added to that once this bill is passed. But once again, corporations and businesses all over the country are going to be celebrating Juneteenth and giving that day off to their employees and also celebrating it in a special way. And this has to do with the path that we're on right now for diversity, equity, and inclusion.
So why 2021 being very special?
Well, the culminating act, unfortunately, of Juneteenth, emancipation, and racial inequity was the murder of George Floyd in May of 2020. And that the fact that we were in COVID-19, people were at home, they watched over and over this video of brutality and murder that took place, and it awakened a new sense of racial inequity and what can be done about it. So as a result of that culminating act, many people began to say, what is it that we can do? And Juneteenth became a part of that.
Great. Well, how near or far from are we from actually having this be an official holiday?
Well, it really depends on how quickly it can pass through Congress and through the legislature. Mm-hmm. You know, I was looking just the other day, Jacqueline, at who had passed the Martin Luther King Day celebration and national holiday, and was really surprised at some of the names that came up that neither voted for it, either they didn't vote or they voted no with regard to the Martin Luther King holiday. So I would just urge people to talk to your representatives, your legislators, and make sure that they know that you are interested in a positive and a yes vote on this bill so that we can celebrate Juneteenth nationally and officially.
Wow. Well, you have shared some information with me that I did not know, so I appreciate that. And I'm hoping that you are continuing to inspire our audience and edify our audience to maybe some facts that they did not know as well. So you've been inspired personally to do something related to Juneteenth. Can you share with us what that is?
Yes, I will. In just a moment. I also want to say, Jacqueline, that 47 states presently celebrate Juneteenth. Hawaii just came in and they're celebrating it. And now we have a holdout with South Dakota. South Dakota, get your act together. Come on now and do the right thing here so that we are all in lockstep and in unity for the celebration of this wonderful holiday. So as I was thinking about how my African-American ancestors must have felt upon the announcement of emancipation, that their longings and their prayers were heard, remembering that enslavement had taken place in this country since the 1600s. And for that 200 years, there was just incredible brutality, and lives were not their own. And even those people who sought freedom on their own were either maimed, killed, or punished in some way. So to be free officially meant a lot. So I began to think about it. It was in my spirit and in my head and heart about how they must have felt upon the announcement that they were free. And as a result, I created a piece because, I'm an artist too. That is the other thing that I do. My left brain and right brain are sometimes at war with one another. But as an artist, I created a piece called Cloud of Witnesses and used that piece to create a card, a note card, celebrating and commemorating Juneteenth. And it is a note card that on the inside it says, "Let freedom ring for one and for all." And that's what it's all about.
It is what it's all about. And you were so gracious to share with me your cards. And I have them here to share with everyone else and give you a close-up view here. Let's go this way. A close-up view.
And the inside.
Inside.
Yes, let freedom ring for one and for all. It comes with a
message here.
Yes.
And let me also share what's on the back. Share with you what's on the back here. You have a QR code where you can get further information. And I'll read for you what it says. Juneteenth commemorates June 19th, 1865, when Major General Gordon Granger issued General Order Number 3 in Galveston, Texas, which announced that all slaves were free. And it also has the copyright information and so forth, but you do want to get a set of these cards. The QR code gives you additional information. Can you share with us, Gasby, when you actually saw this vision of yours come into fruition and you were actually able to hold your cards in your hands? What was that like for you?
Oh, it was just such an ethereal experience to actually hold them, feel them. And those cards come with gold metallic envelopes because of the specialness of Juneteenth. And just to know that this is real and people will be using them. I've already gotten so many orders for them. And in fact, an 89-year-old precious woman in Florida sent me a note on that note card. She had the note cards. Her niece had sent them to her. She sent me a note on a note card to encourage me to continue with this project. And it is a project very, very dear to my heart. And it is also available not only on our website, www.nopermissionneeded.com, but Ebenezer, the historic Ebenezer Baptist Church, has it in their marketplace, and that is ebcmarketcafe.com. And it's also at the First Baptist Church of Glen Arden's online bookstore, fbcgonlinebookstore.org. So I'm just thrilled about the resonance that the card is getting across the country, and looking forward to these next 30 days with people celebrating through the cards and in their own way. By the way, I did, in my research, really saw that Juneteenth is celebrated with food.
Well, this is a great way to send a gift from afar, a food-related gift, and have the cards, a set of cards that they can share with others to be able to celebrate Juneteenth with these beautiful cards, visionary cards, inspirational cards in a package that is just as glorious and visually appealing in that the name, No Permission Needed. Tell us about the name, No Permission Needed, for your note card.
Thanks for asking that question. No Permission Needed is named for my art business. And it was named because I woke up one morning in 2002 after having visions and pervasive visions and dreams about painting trees and other objects. And I announced to my husband, I'm going to start painting. And I did. I went out to Michael's and got canvas and paint and brushes. I had never painted in my life before. And so began the painting experience. And so many people, well, there were a handful of people that laughed at me, and there were a handful of people that rooted me on. Of course, I listened to the people who rooted me on. And now, years later, my art that is owned by people, and about 400 pieces are owned by people across the country, the Caribbean and Canada. And I was just told that my art has appreciated and double in its appreciation by 50%.
Wow.
And I'm very, very happy to hear that. And so this journey has just been divine. I consider it a divine journey, and it has been so rewarding, and doors have been opened in places that I never would have expected.
Wow.
So it's no permission needed, because I didn't ask my husband, honey, what did you think? It was an announcement that I was going to start painting. So no permission needed.
That is awesome. That is awesome. And I'm just looking again at the packaging, which is so professional, so exquisite. It's just something that shows that you put your heart and your passion into this. And I want to be able to support you in this. I would like to give a challenge as people watch this on replay, as you think about making a difference. This show is called The Difference Makers. How can you make a difference related to Juneteenth? How can you make a difference in inspiring someone and educating them related to Juneteenth? There are a lot of myths out there about Juneteenth. There are a lot of people who know nothing about it, or they don't think it's important. We have an expert here that is sharing why it's important. So important that she went to the step of creating something to put into the hands of others, to start conversation, to educate others, and to have these life-changing conversations, because this was a vision from her life. This was a vision because of the lives of others who have lost their lives, not just of recent, but many years ago. And so this is a testament to be able to have conversation, so that the never again is never again, by having these conversations, by sending a note and having discussion as to what this vision is all about. So my challenge to you is to get in contact with Gasby, the many places where this is available, as well as online. Yes, they can be online orders.
Yes, they can do online at nopermissionneeded.com. I was listening so intently to what you were saying, Jacqueline, I was spacing out for a minute. All that you said, I liked everything that you said. The price of the cards are $18.65, which is the year of Juneteenth, to serve as another educational reminder as people are purchasing the cards. And so your support for this cannot be measured enough. I do really, really appreciate it so much.
And I just want to put that into the messaging here, nopermissionneeded.com.
That's correct. www.nopermissionneeded.com.
Making sure we have it in there correctly.
Wonderful.
And I just want to say a huge thank you, where no
there
permission.
You are.
That's right. No permission
You got it.
to go after what you want. There's no permission needed to follow your heart. There's no permission needed to follow the guidance that you're given from a spiritual standpoint. There's no permission needed to do what's going to make a difference in the life of someone else. Thank you so much, Gasby. What else can you share? What else can you share that has to do with Juneteenth that maybe is a myth that you can bust? Something that you've heard people misunderstand, that you can give them some clarity?
Well, I think one myth is that racial inequity is going to work itself out with time. and not necessarily with it, and not with necessarily with effort. And it is going to take effort. And I want to challenge the nonprofit sector and the philanthropic sector to step into and lean into this great opportunity in history to make this kind of difference. When you think about the fact that many nonprofits, or most nonprofits, are in existence to solve a problem, and certainly the problem of inequity exists. Now, whether or not that is the principal mission of the organization is one thing, but a couple of things that can be done in the nonprofit sector is to make sure that your services are coming from a racial equity point of view, that your staff reflects racial equity. People call it diversity. I say diversity is checking off numbers and checking boxes, but making sure that the staff reflects racial equity, and also making sure that your boards reflect racial equity. And I'm really, really hoping that the nonprofit sector would step up to the plate and really take the lead in this. Corporations all over are hiring DEI people. Nonprofits are hiring DEI people. But what I'm seeing is it's wonderful, but still not quite enough. So let's just stay the course, make sure that we are on the right side of history. We know the reason the Civil War was fought. It was fought. By the way, Jacqueline, why do you think the Civil War was fought?
Why do I think the Civil War was fought? Because there was a difference of opinion related to people of color as to whether they were property or not, whether they were people or whether they were property.
Yes, that was a big piece of it. It was the Civil War took place no matter what, and some people have been perpetrating a myth or perpetuating a myth that it was states' rights, but the Civil War was fought to protect slavery. The southern states wanted to keep slavery, and the northern states, although a few people in the north had slaves too, but there were more abolitionists and there was more of a sentiment across the board in the north that this was not the right thing to do. And so that's when the Civil War took place, when the southern states said, we want slavery and you shouldn't make us get rid of it. And that's why the Civil War was fought, just in simple terms.
Okay. So where can we go to make a difference now? What can we do? We can have cards that initiate discussion, but how do we actually move the needle forward?
Well, I think there are three pillars that can help on that: awareness, relationships, and commitment. Awareness, making sure that you know as much as you can about the history of enslavement, the history of our country, and it's a patriotic thing to do, to be able to be involved in making our country better. We are a good country and we want to be a great country, and we can contribute to that. So awareness, being much more aware of what enslavement was like, the brutality of it, the barbarism that took place. Some people will say, well, I know my ancestors were kind to their slaves. Well, the institution was wrong. So let's get that straight, and making sure that we understand that. And then relationships with people of African American descent, to make sure that there is some understanding and relationship. How many friends do you have, and folks that you hang out with that are African American? I'm talking to people who are white now, and to make sure that those relationships are authentic, real, and enriching, because they will be enriching to your life. And then the commitment to keep moving forward with this whole sense of racial equity, and to make all of us better people, and to encourage our country to be the very, very best it can be. Absolutely. It's patriotism.
Well, when we all come together in these United States on a united front, we can do united things together.
Absolutely.
Right. So in closing, what would you say to our audience who may still be on the fence as far as how to celebrate Juneteenth and what new perspectives they might take on as the world becomes more familiar with Juneteenth.
Well, I think watch your local newspapers so that you can see where the Juneteenth celebrations are taking place, participate in them, and learn from them. There will be so many local presentations and celebrations that I believe that everyone will have an opportunity to participate in. And make sure those of you who have children and grandchildren, bring them to these celebrations so that our future is in a better place, because they will know more than past generations about what it will take for all of us to live together.
Thank you so very much. And again, no permission needed. You can get your own set or sets of these beautiful cards to be able to share with your friends and family, and even with those who may not yet know about Juneteenth, and you can be that inspiration and education for them as well. So Gasby Brown of the Gasby Group, I thank you so much for being here and sharing your knowledge about Juneteenth, as well as your vision and passion for creating these note cards to share with the world. Thank you so very much.
My pleasure, Jacqueline. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Thank you.